Can we continue now? So this was our last notebook. So I think from here we'll know where exactly we stop. So if I may start from the top, it means that we started from importing libraries, right? So by now we all know what libraries are in Python. We imported pandas as a library. We also imported NumPy as another library. And then from the pandas, we imported series data frame as components. Please, if you can on that light, I think the place is too dark. Can we still see the screen like this? So just off it so that you can see the screen very well. Okay. Now we called in this data sets where I'll showing us how you can use this .read underscore CSV to read a CSV data. I think we'll also look at how to read pure Excel data. And then let me know. So here we started looking at some inspection functions, some functions that can actually be used to check your data set, right? To know what and what your data set is made up of. And we started with .info, which analyzes the data set information, such as the number of what? Records, the total number of columns, and the lists of all the headers in the data set and their respective data type, the memory the data set is occupying in Python is for 6.4. Then we also talk about the shape. I believe you should also be on this notes so that you can be confirming all this. We all have this notes. You should know how to open your previous notes. Then we look at the shape. So the shape, we actually use it to check the width and the height of our data sets, which outputted the number of rows and the number of columns, right? Now we also look at another attribute called dot columns. Dot column help us to fetch out only the headers in our data sets. I hope you are with me. So this was exactly where we stopped, but we still have some that we are adding today. We still have some data inspection function, which we need to quickly look at before we continue with data cleaning techniques in Python. And then I also said that today we'll also look at these two topics, data cleaning with Python and exploratory analysis. Mr. Benjamin, you are the one I'm stylishly waiting for now. Have you gotten to where it is? So you should have opened your notebook now, but I want everybody to focus. Now, please, whenever you open your previous notebook, always learn to reactivate it or reinitialize it. What do I mean? Most of this code will have time out from your library. So what do? Before you start any other day, you go to run and select run all cells. So what this will do is to reactivate all the cells so that they can all be connected again. Let's focus. As I go to run and select run all cell, because you created this notebook last week, Saturday, right? So that is a very long time you access it. If you open it today now, don't be surprised when you start writing function. Python might be telling you that some of those things does not exist just because some of the cells must have been disconnected from those library. That is why I did what I did now, is to what? To rerun the entire what? Notebook. So now let's continue. Let's continue still on data inspection. So we are looking at, let me open my slide. This is a slide I want us to work from. Slide I want us to work from. Let me locate it. So most of the things that I'm going to discuss today are going to be from this slide. Now, I want us to go up as we are going. Let's confirm the ones we have done. We have done how to create data frame. We have done how to load what? Excel what? With Excel format. We have also done how to check the width, that is the shape, right? Just want to confirm the ones we have done. We have done this, how to call out the columns, how to check data information using .info. We have done that. How to describe our data. Have we done that? We have not. Because if you go to our sheet now, you will notice that the last one we implemented was what? .column, right? So let's write, like I said, I'm not looking at this topic yet. I'm not looking at this topic yet. So let's keep moving it down. Coming. Add above, add above. So we are starting with, I'm using comment as usual to explain whatever I am doing. Make sure you are writing your notes. And after some time, I will allow you to practice. Please make sure you only focus on the screen and also write your notes. Don't code at the same time as I'm coding. I'll tell you when to code. So let's start with how to describe an entire data set. How to describe entire data set with dots describe function. So each of them will look at their definition. So what do we actually achieve with this function called what? Dot describe. Comment, just a minute. So what is dot describe used for? Right, the dot describe rather. Are we writing? The dot describe, the dot describe is used to summarize data sets with bunch of statistical functions. It is used to summarize data sets with bunch of statistical functions. Bunch of statistical functions, such as minimum, maximum. All these functions that I'm mentioning, they are functions that are enveloped in the describe function. So when you apply the describe, you are going to get an analysis for minimum. You are also going to get an analysis for what? Maximum. That is what we are saying. You will also get for standard deviation, STD, and then you will get for count, and then you will also get for mean, that is the average. So just that single function will offer us these various analysis. Are we together? So now let's look at the syntax. The syntax. How do I attach this describe function to my data set in order to give me the minimum, the maximum, the STD, the count, and the mean analysis? So the syntax will simply look like this. Everything I'm writing in the cell is what you should be copying into your notes. So the syntax is you call the name of the data set. Now, looking at the data set we are working with, the name of that data set is what? DA what? DA1. So you call the name of that data set. Then you now concatenate, which means dots. Then you now add the describe. You now add the describe. Then remember that is a function. It must carry the parentheses. Then after that, you run it. So you can see what happened. So it has described the entire data set. Now, I want us to look at this explanation before I allow us to implement same. You see, what happened is that in that data set, we have more than the number of headers that are involved here. Because the describe captures what? Capture the age, capture billing amounts, capture what? Room number. In other words, from that data set, those are the only headers where you have what? Numbers. So what the function is trying to say here is that I cannot describe text-based header. Like under gender, we have what? Male and female. They are not number. They are what? Text. So that is what actually happened. So within itself, it located the header with what? Value and summarizes the count, the mean, the standard deviation, the minimum. Now, let me explain this count. What it did here is that under each of these header, you have total number of what? This entry, right? Then the mean of the values you have in age, that is, you add all of them together, divide by this number, we give you what? This 51 points. The mean is average, right? All the way from a cell. So if you add all the values you have under what? Billing amount, divide also by this number, we give you this. Likewise to what? To this. So standard deviation is just like the measurement of the dispersion. That is the value at which one is different from what? The other, comparing the value. So this is standard deviation. All the values under age. If you calculate, if you look at the standard deviation, how they deviated from themselves, is what? 19 point this. Under here, this. Under here, this. Now, minimum, all the values under age. The minimum age recorded is what? 13. And then the minimum under what? This. So for each header that are captured, what the function is doing is to pick what? The minimum, the standard deviation, the mean, the count, and then the maximum. Now, there is something I want us to know. Because, like I said, just a single function describe gave us what? Analysis for what? Multiple what? Function. Now, that does not mean that you cannot use this function individually. Now, you can use them individually. For example, now, I can say, okay, for mass, let's start for what? For count, right? Let's start from count. Count only. If I am asked to perform the count only on the data, so what I'm going to do, DA what? DA1 dot what? Count, and then you run it. You can see that what count did is all the header, it listed all the header and counted all the values in them, right? Now let's try it for just what? I'll give us time to write and implement. Now for maximum, what was the next one there? For minimum, right?
for minimum function. So the syntax will simply mean that same thing, A1 dot what? Minimum. Now you can see that some of the header that the other one did not capture. When we use describe could not capture string header. But using it alone now, I'm able to get something very important. So now there are some analysis questions this is answering. For example, if I am asked between male and female in that data set, which one of them do we have more? This analysis have shown that what? We have lesser what? Female, right? Because you are running what? Minimum. And what it had put is what? Female. Then under blood type, supposing you are asked to find out which of them have the least, is what? A plus, right? Under medical condition. So had it been you did not know how to apply them individually, then you wouldn't have been able to what? To get all these vital what? Information. Let's do for maximum now. For what? Maximum. For mass, the syntax remain the same. DA was 1 dot what? Mass. And then you run. Now let's see whether, why is he saying this? Okay, sorry, I didn't get this one. So let's see whether the other one say female when we run minimum, right? Now maximum, that means what? Is actually what? Correct. It's correct. Yeah. Now for the one that are possible here, I'll give us time to write all of them and implement. Then for which one now? For STD. For STD, you might have issues depending on how Python is reading the data type. So now, let's say what? STD. If I run it, STD, what do I have? I have a kind of, you can see that when you don't close the bracket, they will be seen as what? Attributes. And the kind of analysis you get will be different. So that is why it's important you always what? Close what? The bracket. So because I did not add the bracket, that was the reason why it was giving me that kind of what? Analysis. So this one is outputting what? Nothing. It was still loading. So error. So the error is that it cannot convert. So that is data type what? Issue. So when you are using Python for analysis, you don't get to the aspect of converting what? Data or engineering data. That is for data science. So what we are going to do now is to leave this one. Let's go to which other one we have not applied. Mean, have we? We are, because this one is complaining of data. So let me just convert it to what? For what? For mean, if I allow us to start applying them. So this will become the what? Mean. Don't forget, mean also represents what? Average. Mean also represents average. So let's see whether based on the data type, we have mean also. So anyone that complains of data type, it means that it's not as if the function does not work, but it does not find the right data to work with. And ordinarily for you to do that, you start a data and feature engineering, which is not under data analysis. Analysis, you are supposed to get the data that has been perfected, and then you just do your analysis, not to start re-engineering the data. So it's taking time. So while you are waiting, so let me scroll up so that you can start. Okay. Running open and close that you use. Is there a button to get two of them together? Yeah, I think we did that before now. The button, the closing bracket. Look at what you do. You go to setting. My Anaconda, let me see. Something happened. You're talking about the opening of the bracket, are we? I'm talking about, let's say, you want to open the bracket like this, are we? Yes. If your is not closing at once, right? Yeah. If it's not closing, then you go to setting, then you select this option, auto close bracket. So you program it now so you can try it. Yeah. So once you have activated it, next time you type the opening to close it. Now, I want us to start from where I started from. Where is it? So copy the syntax. I think I started from where? No, not from here. From here, are we? You have written this one before, are we? So now I just start copying them and be applying them. So we still have at least 2 of data inspection function. Now, Oga, are you with us? Okay. Now, what we are doing is that whenever you are given data sets, once you call the data set in your notebook, you are expected to use this function to examine it. Now, there is another one called .head to write how to inspect data, or let's say how to select certain records from a given data set using .head function. Using .head function. Using what? .head function. So let's start with the .head definition. What is .head function? Right, .head function is used for data selection. It is used for data selection within a given data frame or set. It is used for data selection. Yeah, it's used for data selection within a given what? Data set or frame. Data sets or frame. So let's look at this simple example. Let's assume, e.g., write what I'm saying also, e.g., select the first 40 record in the DA1 data sets and store them in another variable. Store them in another variable. So what we are saying is that if I may just call the DA1, I want you to pay attention. If I may just call the DA1 to bring it closer to where I am, this data set has how many records? 55,000, right? And 500, right? Out of this, you are asked to pull out the first 40, probably for certain reason. Maybe those first 40 are the ones you actually want. Maybe you must have sorted the data that will have made those first 40 be the highest the highest performing data. Now you want to pull them out from the data and perform different analysis on them differently from the whole of this. So how do you call them out? It can be first 60, it can be first 64. The highest you can pull out at once is what? 64. So now, based on the task we are asked to perform, the syntax is simply what? You call the name of the data set, and then you say what? Dot what? Head. Then, if you call it like this without putting anything inside the bracket, it will display the first 5. Only the what? The first 5. Remember 0 is 1, right? It will display what? The first 5. But the question says we should display what? 40. So which means that inside the head, I will impute what? 40. So that will give me 40 and give me a scroll bar to view them. This is a scroll bar given to you. To what? To view only what? The 40. So let's see whether we have that complete. So you can see that what is correct. Now, remember the second part of, okay, I don't think you're with me. The second part of the question says, you are not just to display them like this. Also, store them in another variable so that they can become a different what? Data set. So which means that this particular information now become a subset of what? DA1, right? So I will now take it as say what? Subsets underscore what? DA1 equals to. So which means that what? This first 40 that you have extracted from the main data, you are now storing those 40 records inside what? This. There are now a different data set that you can perform your analysis on. So once I run it now, I can always reference it. If I want to see them, since they are stored in a valid variable, I can always call them, right? Control C, and then go down and then call it. So let's quickly copy this and implement. Copy the whole of this. Then I believe you must have written that in your note, right? So if you have written in your note, quickly apply. So let's look at another one. I don't know whether you have this data. So we are going to read another data set now so that we can use it to learn what we want to learn. So let's read another data set. It's part of the data set that I give to you. So if it's not in the folder you call in here, transfer that customer. If you check that data I gave you this morning, that customer, transfer it to the folder you are working with. So that data requires some things that we need to know. So here, let's say what? Loading another data set. So we complete the remaining inspection functions with this data set because these have the attributes we need. So let me check first from my home page. This is the data I want to load. Let me check whether it's even here. It's not here. So let me also relocate it to this folder, which is a weekend class. I think I got it from projects. This particular data set, you have it now. I'll go to weekend class. Where do I have it? Weekend class. Weekend class. Need to do some cleanup. So let me just paste it here. Now I go back to. There are two customers. Yes, take the one with CSV formats. You can take anyone anyway. They are the same. Just that one is in CSV, one is in a Excel. So I have taught us how to load both CSV and Excel data sets. Okay, so I will just right click here and copy the path. Please, I want us to pay attention first. So remember that we want to load data set. We start by giving it what? A variable name, right? Equals to. So the function that will enable us to read the data is in PD. As pandas, we concatenate read underscore. If you are reading the CSV, from what? Underscore what? CSV. I believe you should remember this. And then you paste the parts. Now remember, this part was not giving us the desired results, so I believe you are following. So I'll use the relative method that I taught us by putting two dots. That will call it in. So if I want to view the data set, I will just select what? The A2. Now, you can see that from this data set, there are a lot of places that are showing what? NaN. That's the reason why I brought this data, because if I want to show us what I want to, the topic as in this function I want to explain now, without a data set with this missing value, it will not be clear. So anywhere you see NaN, it means that what? Those are the cells without what? Value. And it also means what? Missing value. If you open that data in a cell, you will discover that what here is an empty cell. And that is what Python have translated to what? Not a number. Benjamin, are you with us? Okay. Now, what we want to find here, we want to check, look up, we want to check for missing value. It's part of the inspection function you need to know. When you are given data sets, you are supposed to check whether there are some cells without value. So what I'm doing now is what? Checking for missing value within data sets. And which data set? Data 2, right? So there is a function I'm going to use, which is what? Let's say using dots is using dot is null. Using dot is null is a function which is used to check for what? Missing value. So now I will just simply say the A2, which is my data set, and attach what? Is null to it, and then check. So what happened is that anywhere you see true, it means that what? You have what? Missing value there. Anywhere you see false, it means that what? You don't have what? Missing value. There is a value there. Now, there is another one again you can use to do something like this, which is like an alternative. So I can also say DA2 dot is NaN. Is NA. This one is to check for when you have what? That NaN. So if I run it, it will tell me that what? Can you see that what? I'm having what? The same thing. But if I run this function on this other data that is so voluminous, up to 55,000, let's see what is going to happen. So if I'm running on this, which is what? DA what? DA1 dot what? Is NaN, right? And is now, for example, you see what you have here, you see this dot, dot, dot. How will you know? How will you know whether what? Because right now you cannot actually conclude that because we are seeing all this one, there are no missing value, because there are some that are folded. So to do something like this, you will now bring, for you to select only the rows with the missing value, you want to bring them out from the entire data so that you can count them. Please pay attention to this aspect, it's very important. So now what I'm about to do here, because of the notes you are going to write, is what? How to call out only the rows with what? Missing values. So instead of this way that I'm not seeing some, just call them out. Let me just focus on them so that I will know how many of them. So here I'm going to we're going to combine two of them together. One is the one that will identify them. One is the one that will bring them out. Is what? Is NA and dot NE. So we're going to combine this word, these two functions. As is equals to what? 1. So why as is equals to 1? Because it's going to search across all the rows, starting from what? The first row. So my as is not. Now, let me implement it. So I will simply say on that what? DA2, where we have what? NAN, right? Because if I run it on this other one now, no, DA1 does not have NAN. It's DA2, the one we just called now, which is customer, right? So I will call it like this. Take note of the syntax. It's a bit logical. The syntax is this. Then call a square bracket. Then call the DA2 again inside it. You call that data set name outside, and then what? Inside. Before you start adding what? Is what? NA. Are you getting it? Then you come outside, you now do what? Dot what? Any. Then inside the any, you now say what? As is is what? Equals to what? 1. So if I run it now, what will happen? It will bring only them. They are about 1, 2. At row 2, you have NaN. That's why I brought that row out. At row 3, you also have what? NaN. At row 5, you have what? NaN somewhere. You have it here. At row C. So these are the only 6 rows in the whole of that data where you have what? Missing value. So in the case of that folding update record now, when you apply this method, you can bring them out and what? Focus on them. If I run this same function on that DA what? DA1 is going to call all the header without anything under them, which means that what? There is no what? Missing value. Let's go there. What is this? Syntax again. Square bracket, right? DA what? DA1 dot what? Is NA, right? Then step out dot what? Any, the bracket as this is equals to what? 1. So if I run this now, it will call all the header in that data without listing any record. You know why? Because there is no what? Missing value. There is no place in that data where you have missing value. There, all the cells are occupied. Dot means what? The frame cannot display from 1 to 55,000 plus. So it folded the rest and captured at least some at the beginning, some at the end. So that dot means what? There are more records inside. And that is the reason why we are doing, because we might not know whether we have missing value among those ones that are not what? Visible. And that is why we are bringing this concept of using this, combining both of them together, which is NA and what? Dot any. So let's quickly copy to our note and apply also before. So that will now take us to, let me just confirm what we have done here. So that will take us to data cleaning. So what we have been doing so far is to inspect the data. Once you are given data set, you load it in Python with book. We are supposed to use those functions, .info, just to verify, just to study the data and know what is in the data. So now let's assume that you discover some error like that NaN, right? You can proceed with that. You have to convert them to what? To 0. Because those NaN means cell without what? Value. And it is possible that it's not as if there was an omission. It was just because maybe there was no transaction there. That is why the person that entered that left what? Those cells what? Empty. But since they are like an obstacle to you in Python, you convert them to what? To 0. So that takes us to data cleaning. So what is data cleaning? Okay.
Syntax, so we have empty. Can it be actually is null? Can it be actually for like we have syntax we use for plant cell? Can it be used either using this NA or this NL?
You are working with library here. What is stored is what you must use. So if you call what is not in the program memory, it won't output anything. So data cleaning in Python. So what do we mean by data cleaning? You know, we talked about this cleaning even in Excel, right? The word cleaning means what? You are perfecting what? The data, right? It means that you have acknowledged that there are some errors that you cannot actually proceed with in your analysis. So you need to what? To clear those errors. You need to master the data. You need to perfect the data. So that's what there are skills and there are functions that are used for cleaning up data. Now, the best scenario is this data, DA2. We look at this DA2, this NAN, they are error. If I want to add the value here now, this NAN will be an issue of not adding this and this. So since I know that they were empty cell, I will just convert them to what? 0. And if I convert it to 0, whatever I'm adding plus 0 will not change it. Are you with me? So the first one we are going to look at is filna. Dot filna is the function, right? Dot filna. Dot filna is a function. Now, is a function which is used to fill the missing value with a constant value. You are writing definition, right? The dot filna is one of the data cleaning functions used for filling the missing value with a constant. For filling the missing value with what? A constant. Huh? I said it is one of the data cleaning function in Python, which is used for filling the missing value with a constant. So when I say constant here in Python, you cannot say this NAN should take 20 and then this one should take 30. No, all the NAN, irrespective of their location. The work of the filter is to locate all of them within the data set and feed them with what? Whatever value you supply. So now let's look at how the tasks we are given here from the above data sets, the A2. So from the above data sets, the A1, the A2, replace, this is how they'll put it to you. Replace all the what? NAN with 0. You see the way it is now? If they say 10, whatever value you are given, that is what you work with. If it is a test base, then you can also, but you quote it, just like the way we were working with what? Variable. So the syntax to achieve that will simply be, the syntax will be the name of that data set, which is what? The A2, right? Dot fill na. There you now supply what? 0. If it is string, I will what? Put it in what? In quotes. But since a number, I can say, okay, supply them with 0. If they say 10, fine. Whatever they ask you to put, once you run the data, check now. All the places where you have before what? NA, they have been replaced with what? 0. Now, but if you call this the A2, if you call the A2 now, they are still there. So which means that you have to update the data. And to update the data, you simply do something like this. This is where you apply the command, right? The 0. So what you do is this. You will now say, you assign the same name, the what? The A2 is equals to. So that going forward, you have automatically what? Replaced. So now if you call the A2 now, you are going to get the updated version. Mr. Benjamin, are you with us? You will get now anywhere now going forward now, you call the A2. You are going to be getting the one you have what? Replaced with what? 0. So take note of the syntax. The same name. If I had used different name, it means that what the A2 still stand. You must use the same name to store it again, to store the output. So let's quickly achieve that quickly. How to rename specific column. How to rename specific column. Now let's assume that you are given data sets like this one we are having here now. You can see what? Sign up date, 3 words, and there's no underscore. And I told us from the beginning that what? Python is not good at what? Working with what? The space. Educational what? Level. There's no space here. When we start the main analysis, because of all this space that you are seeing, there will be error. Sometimes Python will overlook them. Sometimes it will throw error. So to avoid this as part of your data cleaning, you need to what? Sort this out. You know, remember that if it is based on the volume of the data, if it is what you can actually quickly edit from Excel, it's easier to do in Excel. But whatever, if it is like 2 million volume that you cannot open in Excel and it's given to you, and you are able to load it in what? In Python. So how do I rename this header? So renaming now, that will give us access to modify anything modifiable, or even deleting. I can say, okay, the whole of this will be sign up, not adding what? Date. So the syntax here, look at the syntax. I want us to study the syntax. Write this syntax down. This df is the name of your data set, right? Then you are joining what? With this function. So the function name is rename. That is the name of the function. Is your data set name. Yeah, that's the one or the two. Then dot rename. Then you now call column. If I want us to write it, or should I go and code it? Then you write. This format is good. Then you still write the other one. So what you have here now, columns. That is what you want to edit. Then you open this bracket. Take note of the brackets you are using there, so I don't go and use the wrong bracket. Old header. Let's say I'm changing that sign up date. You call it the way it is. New header. I'll just say sign up. Old header 2. The new header 2. So if there are up to like 5 or 6 that you want to change, that is how you keep what? Referencing them. Then when you are through, you use this attribute to say what? Yes, you actually want to what? To change them. That is why we have that in place. Equals to what? That is what? You have just informed Python that you actually want to modify those words, headers. So once you are done writing, you allow me to code first before you do your own coding. Old what? After old what? You remember that there's quotation here. There's code here, there's column. So column is what is separating each of the both the old and the new. Once you are through with the old and new one, comma, the new two, sorry, that is the old two, new two, comma. So if there are about 4 of them or 5, that's that you maintain the format like that. Can we implement now? Okay, so now let's look at the application. Probably we'll be closing from here. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to call out what? The headers. Remember, we have DA what? DA2, right? Dot what? Column. Remember, it's part of what we have done. Whenever you want to bring out the headers, so that you focus on them, you know the one you are changing. That's why I call them out. Okay, are you looking at what you are doing? Now, I will say what? DA what? DA2, right? Dot what? Rename. Rename, then is a function, the column. Column equals to this type of brackets. So you can take it vertically if you like. If writing it straight will confuse you, you can take it vertically. So let me just finish writing this first. You can as well what? Convert it back. So the first one is what I'll call the header, the first one. The first one I want to change is what? This. You copy. That's why I display so that you don't make mistake. Always what? Copy from there. So you have the same equal space that you have there. Control C. Then you paste it what? Inside. Then remember that there is what? Column separating them, right? Then the new one is going to be, if I paste it, I will just say, okay, what I want to do is just to add what? Underscore or merge them together. Maybe what I want to do, if I still want them, I will just add what? Underscore. Then you are through with the first one, you put what? Comma. Then you now call the second one, which is what? String again. That is the new one. The new one is what? Education level. You take it the way it is here. Always copy from the data. If you try typing it now, you make mistake. Then column, separating them. Then another string again. Paste it. And then what we are adding here is what? Merge them first, then put what? Underscore. So if there are still more of them that you want to change, you what? You continue. So once you are through with that, remember that you now come outside this one, outside this coiling bracket. After now, what I wanted to do before is to be doing it like this, so that it will be easier for us, so I will not mix them up. So if there's anyone we want to change, let's add one more. So I'll put what? Comma here, right? Then I will call what? String. Let's say where I have a name, I want to change to what? First name. I'm adding now because it's not just editing. You can as well what? Rename totally. So Control C. So I'm putting it here. Then column. Then the new one. I what? First what? First underscore what? Name. So once you have come to the last one, you come outside, put comma, you now say in place. That true must be what? Capital letter, the T. In place what? True. So if I run it now, since it did not output any error, it means that what? The changes have what? Be implemented. Now you view the data again and see whether what you'll be having is what you change. So how do you view the data again? Just come here outside the type what? The DA what? DA2. Now let's check now. You see what we did is what we now have now. Good. So the idea of you going to Excel and start modify because you have empty space, you can do that. So let's write and implement, and then we stop here today. So your assignment, write your assignment down. But my spirit was telling me that I gave you assignment last time. Okay. So assignment, create a new notebook. A different one entirely. Create a new notebook. That's the first task. 2, import pandas and numpy library. Let me simplify so that it will be easier for you. Import pandas and numpy. Then Read salary data set. You know that data set now. It's part of what I gave you today now. Read data, read what? Salary data set and customer data set. Read salary data set and customer data set. Data set and customer data set. Now look up. These are the data sets you are going to work with. Let me show you so that you will not have issue. Where is that weekend again? Weekend. We are working with this. I thought I gave you the salary data set the other time. Okay, I did not transfer it to mine. Okay, I have them here. I gave you these data sets, right? Let me open the set. So in that notebook where you'll be doing your assignments, these are the two data sets I want you to have there. We already have the customer. Continue with the notes. I'm not done yet. Good. You know the data set now. We all have it now. This salary data set now, department. We are using this in Excel now, and it's part of what I gave you today. That I name salary. So you are using this data set, and you are also using what? The customer. You are reading both of them into that notebook. So the next task, right? Perform all the data inspection function. Perform all the data inspection function. You know that all these functions that we have treated so far, from .info, .column, .head, you play. In fact, you can choose any data out of those two and work with while you are applying all these functions.
All the data inspection
Functions, yes. So the last task is in the salary payroll data set, edit the following headers. Yes, edit the following header, gross benefits, by adding underscore in between. Gross, yes, gross benefits, net salary, wardrobe allowance. You'll be mentioning them, don't worry. Basic salary, all these what I mentioned. Gross benefits, basic salary, net salary, annual salary, net salary, annual salary, by adding underscore in between. By adding underscore in between. I called gross benefits, basic salary, wardrobe allowance, net salary, annual salary. Allowance. So we stop here today. Make sure you do the